Welcome to the Common Constitutionalist Weekly Podcast, and I am the Common Constitutionalist. Coming to you from once again frozen New England. And I'm talking frozen, brother. I think it's 16 to 18 degrees outside, and it just keeps going down, probably single digits tonight. Oh, happy day. And it's supposed to be daylight savings time tomorrow. Well, it's going to be daylight savings time tomorrow, and here we are freezing our tushies off. But at least we'll get a little more sunshine. That'll warm things up. Yeah, right. Anywho, today I've got a couple of topics to discuss. The first one is an Atlantic piece about Trump's wanting the audacity of Trump wanting a merit-based immigration system. Oh, the tragedy of it all. Second one is Mark Levin has gone off on Orrin Hatch, the lying sack of wheat, Orrin Hatch. So we'll discuss that today on the Common Constitutionalist.
You are listening to the Common Constitutionalist, broadcasting from an undisclosed location, free from the prying eyes of establishment black helicopters.
All right, let's get this started here. Now, normally what I do when I have 2 or 3 topics to discuss, it's pretty rare that I only have one. Every once in a while, I know that I'm going to take, 20 or 30 minutes talking about just one topic for whatever the reason. I just know for a fact it could be some article that'll take me 10 minutes to go through, and I'll just go off on it. But, such as that's my show, so I guess I can do what I want. At any rate, so a lot of the time what I'll do is that I'll pick between the 2 or 3 topics, whichever is the most important. I'll try to get in first, and then something, whatever else comes after that of less import. But then there are other times where there are 2 relatively important topics, and I have to pick between the one that makes me the angriest and the one that's likely not to. And I have chosen the Atlantic article, Is a Merit-Based Immigration System a Good Idea? The one that's going to make me less angry than talking about Orrin Hatch. Man, I don't like that guy. He just, whatever. Okay, here we go. Right off the bat, right already. Gee whiz. All right, let's put Mr. Hatch aside. So this Atlantic piece, again, is called Is a Merit-Based Immigration System a Good Idea? Who couldn't possibly think that a merit-based immigration system wouldn't be a good idea? But apparently, we know who wouldn't think. The people who don't think. The progressives, of course. They write, President Trump's proposal to shift towards a merit-based immigration system would upend an approach that existed for half a century, and indeed it did. Since the 1960s, the United States immigration system has been largely based on entry on family ties, giving preference to those with relatives who are citizens. Hooray for that. What a load. But in his first address to a joint session of Congress in February, Donald Trump proposed moving away from that policy, focusing instead on an immigration system that would prioritize high-skilled immigrants. What a swine that Trump guy is. Who would ever think that? It's just ridiculous. Now, okay, right off of the bat, I guess I'm getting a little ticked off of this thing already. You got you're given a choice between 2 people who, one way or the other, one of these 2 people are going to come live at your house. Okay, whether you like it or not, you have to welcome in an individual. They're perfectly safe. They're not axe murderers or rapists or whatnot, either or, but you have a choice. And your choice is between somebody doesn't necessarily have to be highly skilled. They don't need to be a brain surgeon or some sort of highfalutin attorney. They just need to have decent skills. They need to be English speaking and literate. Okay, that's one choice. Your other choice is a poor, illiterate, non-English speaking bum who just wants to sponge off the system. Who is you? They want to lay around the house, watch your TV, and collect a check from you. Now, who you going to pick? Duh. So why is it that we can make that decision for ourselves and have it be perfectly legitimate, but we can't expect the same of our nation? It's the same thing. We lock our doors at night. We should lock the gate on Trump's giant wall all the time and keep it locked. We don't want strangers coming into our house, ransacking things and stealing our stuff and watching our TV and eating our food. Well, why is it any different from America? Why do we have to let all these bums into America? And this family-based thing is just it's such a load of crap. But I guess I kind of digressed, but not really. So let's continue, shall we? Trump and his advisors have argued that the current levels of immigration harm American workers by lowering wages and preventing assimilation. And that is absolutely correct, 100% correct. A merit-based system restricts, and here you go. They have to make, this is supposed to be an article reporting, well, the facts, for want of a better term, but they can't help themselves. If it's a leftist-leaning outlet like The Atlantic, they cannot help themselves. This is not supposed to be a commentary. It's supposed to just be a reported article, but yet they can't help themselves not to comment. They write, a merit-based system, restrictionist advocates believe. Restrictionists. Why? We're not restrictionists. We're not trying to restrict immigration. We're trying to restrict the bums and the illiterate poor from coming in and sucking off the you-know-what of the system. So let me retrace that again. A merit-based system, restrictionist advocates believe, would help lower immigration rates and ensure that immigrants who do come are high-skilled workers who never need public assistance. Isn't that a good thing? Why would we want people to come in and take public assistance? Well, we know why some would want to do that, because that's how they garner their votes. Whether it be legal or illegal, that's how they garner their votes. And I ain't saying that it was 3 million, but I know because I've seen firsthand people in New Hampshire being bussed in. They come in by the busload, and they sure don't look like native New Hampshireites to me, you know what I'm saying? I'm just saying that these people come in by the busload, they're trucked into the polling place, they vote, they get back on the bus, and away they go to places unknown, or at least unknown to me. Anywho, quote, the current outdated system depresses wages for our poorest workers and puts great pressure on taxpayers, Trump said in his speech to Congress, and he was absolutely 100% correct. That was a great speech, by the way. While the president has yet to offer details, a merit-based system would pose its own challenges to economic prosperity. For whom? I guess they're going to tell us. Critics believe that a merit-based system that prioritizes high-skilled worker, oh the horror, could hurt the economy by harming industries that rely on low-skill immigrant labor, and that fears that immigrants are not assimilating or are overly reliant on the Social Security safety net are overblown. Really? Really? When they have cities in the Southwest where even the traffic signs are in Spanish, and you can't function in places in the Southwest United States unless you speak Spanish? Wrong-a-rooney. Assimilate my Aunt Fanny, of which we all know I have no Aunt Fanny, but you know what I mean. At least I don't think I have an Aunt Fanny. So, to that I have an idea. We have millions of people. As a matter of fact, the latest figure I saw from a little while ago was we have 95 million underemployed or unemployed people, citizens in the United States. That's a lot of people, man. And that's a huge chunk of the workforce who aren't working or are underemployed. Well, if you started cutting their, like in the olden days, if you wanted to eat, you had to work. If you wanted to be housed, you had to work. It's that simple. You don't work, you starve. Boo freaking who for you? Every I was going to say child, every man and woman or whatever, or if you're transitioning, If you have the ability to work and you don't, too bad for you. I'm not talking about the people who cannot work, either for physical or mental challenges or whatever it is. I have no problem taking care of those people. You could do it privately, of course, but I'm not going down that road. I'm just saying, you start taking bennies away, you start taking entitlements that people aren't really supposed to be entitled to away, and guess what's going to happen? They're going to find a job, because otherwise they're going to go hungry. So in 2015, a think tank, a nonpartisan think tank, that's a little suspicious. Anytime a leftist site says it's nonpartisan, usually partisan. But at any rate, the Migration Policy Institute claimed or did a study and found that only 14% of those admitted into the United States came through a job-based preference. And that's it. All the rest of them were, well, you know what they were. I don't need to keep repeating that crap. So I don't know why this is so bloody difficult to understand. Trump's right. Anybody who's for a merit-based system is correct. We need to go back to that. It was that way up until the 1960s, but a merit-based system is the only fair way to do things. And I'm talking fair for the United States citizens, of whom these people are supposed to be working for us, not against us. And now, granted, it's mainly the Democrats, but progressive Republicans are the same way. They think they're going to garner votes by letting in everybody, every Tom, Dick, and Julio in. It's insane that we do it any other way. And we've been doing it for 40 years now, or over 40 years. I don't know what it's been. But it's been a bloody long time, and it's about time we went back to the old merit-based system. And that's all I've got to say about that. So let's take a break. You're listening to me, the Common Constitutionalist.
Yeah, baby! Yeah.
All right, welcome back. I am rejuvenated for like a 25-second break. Rejuvenated me. Oh, yeah, baby. So, Orrin Hatch, Senator Orrin Hatch of Utah. I've written over the years a few articles on Orrin Hatch, and he ain't my favorite guy by a stretch. But if I'm not mistaken, when he first started in the Senate, I guess in the Senate, of course he's been in there since 1976 or something like that, he was actually pretty good, as a lot of them were. Lamar Alexander, John McCain, Lindsey Graham, all those old fossils that have been there forever, they all started pretty good. As a matter of fact, I think McCain came in under Reagan, if I'm not mistaken, and he was a Reagan warrior at the time, and now he's just an old establishment hackaroony. And Orrin Hatch is no different. I'll tell you what, if Jesus himself came back to Earth and spent 30 years in Washington, I'd hate to think what he'd turn out to be. But I don't believe he'd be our Lord and Savior anymore. Not for spending that much time in that sewer, in that freaking cesspool. But at any rate, these guys have to choose their path. And most of these old establishment hacks have chosen the wrong path. Have chosen the path to enrich and empower themselves, and not us, for sure. So Orrin Hatch, he's got the first thing you do, if you don't know about an elected official, a national elected official, Congress or the Senate, and if you really don't need to know a whole lot more about them than to go to Conservative Review, click on Liberty Score, find your senator or congressman or congresswoman or whoever they happen to be this week, and click on them and check out their Liberty Score, and that picture is worth 1,000 words, brother. I'll tell you what. Orrin Hatch's current CR Liberty Score is an F, of course, with 33% conservative voting record. 33% for the old fossil, who's 82 years old. And Mark Levin is none too happy with Orrin Hatch. The Right Scoop writes that Orrin Hatch has announced that instead of retiring, as he promised, and he did, he's going to run again for the U.S. Senate. Mark Levin isn't happy about that and rips him in this brief Facebook statement. Levin begins by, I think this is actually a tweet. I didn't even know he did that, but at any rate, he tweets, Orrin Hatch tops off his career as a liar. Levin isn't known for pulling any punches, and he didn't on this one. His Facebook post he wrote, when he last ran for Senate, he promised to be a conservative, and he told the voters it would be his last election. He lied both times, but Hatch wouldn't let go. He holds on to power, and aging noble in monarchical times. Hatch announced he is running for re-election at the urging of President Trump. I'm not sure I buy that. I don't know. I wasn't there. I have no idea. Should he win, he will be 90 years old at the end of his term. 90 freaking years old. And he hasn't been put out to pasture? Give me a break. They're going to have to wheel this son of a gun into the Senate chambers with a coffee can as a dribble cup under his chin by the time he's finished his this coming term, if he's reelected. And the people of Utah, if you people of Utah reelect this jackweed, you got some real problems. The people who elected Mike Lee are the same people who are going to reelect Orrin Hatch. Man, if that ain't irony, I don't know what is. Levin continues with his short Facebook post. I made the mistake of believing this man last time around. That won't happen again. I would encourage a young, charismatic, articulate conservative to take him on. I would encourage the same thing. And I remember back in 2012, I was ticked off. I was going to say something else, but I was ticked off at Levin for buying Hatch's line of crapola. And I remembered back in 2012, Hatch was running against the young upstart. The guy was in his mid-30s or late 30s or something like that. His name was Dan, I think it was Liljenquist, if I'm not mistaken. And Levin wasn't thrilled about this guy. He didn't have much experience, and Levin thought that it was important to reelect an old dog that had the clout to move things along in the Senate. And he sure did. I remember that. And boy, like I said, I remember being mad at Levin, and I couldn't understand for the life of me why he was buying Hatch's line of crap. He did say he made a mistake. Even the great one can make a mistake. And I remember during that time, in a debate against Liljenquist, Hatch hit all the right notes on immigration. He said, and I quote during this debate, "We won't be able to solve these problems until we secure the borders." Well, ain't that a freaking laugh riot coming from Orrin Hatch? Every other large nation in the world knows how to secure their borders. Why can't we secure ours? This is great. And this is re-election season. That's what these fools do. That's what McCain did. That's what all these fools do. They lie their butts off. And second, we can no longer grant amnesty. I fought against the 1986 Simpson-Mazzoli bill because they granted amnesty to 3 million people. They should have to get in line like anybody else if they want to come into this country and do it legally. That's what he said. Mr. Conservative Orrin Hatch said that back in 2012, the lying sack of dirt. And what did he do after he got elected? Oh yeah, that's right. Let's see. He voted to fund Obamacare. Yes, he did. He voted for the big omnibus bill. Yes, he did. And then he joined the Gang of Eight, promoting amnesty. Yes, he did. After spouting off about securing our borders and bringing on legal immigrants and not illegal immigrants, he joins the freaking Gang of Eight. What a turncoat, racket, frackin', whatever. And I remember also back during the 2012 rather contentious election season for Orrin Hatch when somebody had the audacity from the Tea Party to challenge him like Dan Lillenquist. Regarding the Tea Party, Hatch remarked, quote, "These people are not conservatives. They're not Republicans. They're radical libertarians, and I'm doggone offended by it." Oh, you're offended by it, you frackin'. I just and again, a quote, "I despise these people, and I'm not the guy you come in and dump on without getting punched in the mouth," he continued. Give me a break. You know how much he spent? He spent almost $8 million trying to defend his re-election bid against an unknown Dan Lillenquist who had almost nothing. Oh yeah, and I forgot that he actually was one of the Republicans back in 1993 who actually recommended to Bill Clinton Ruth Buzzy Bader Ginsburg to the High Court. Yes, that was Orrin Hatch who recommended her. Good job, Orrin, you jerkweed. So, to that, can anyone out there, raise your hand, can anyone say Article 5 Convention of the States, which Mr. Levin, the great one, has been pushing for years now, and he is 100% correct. We need to have the Convention of States because we need term limits on these old fossil so-and-sos that I get so angry at this stuff, and I'm not going to yell and scream like Levin does. It works for him, it doesn't work for me. But I can't stand these two-faced freaking politicians year after year. This guy stood up in front of God and country during that debate, and he said that he will not run. And the audience, I remember them actually laughing. And he said, "No, I'm serious. This is my last term." Back in 2012, he said that. And now, son of a gun, at 82 years old, and he's going to run for re-election. You so-and-so frickin' jerkweed. Whatever. I'm done. I can't do it anymore. Well, at least not this segment. These old fossils tick me off to no end. So I think I am done. This is a common constitutionalist signing off. I hope y'all have a great balance of the weekend. I'm going to go decompress, maybe get a little snack or something, and maybe turn on the NFL Network and watch what kind of trades the Patriots are doing today during the free agency period. And that's it. We'll talk to you next week. This is the Common Constitutionalist. I'm out of here. See ya.